everybody, and welcome to another edition of Landscape Marketing Secrets. Super excited to say I've decided to go back to YouTube after a very brief break. It wasn't gaining the traction I'd like, but then I was away at Pond Camp and two people asked me, two of my four people, just kidding, there's more than that, but two people asked me where the YouTube videos were, so I decided to go back to them. So for those of you who followed me that way, welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about an interesting topic that came up last week at Pond Camp, and that is why you need a weekly team meeting and what should be in it. And truthfully, I was shocked because for years we were coached by Tom Reber and we followed his ideas, and I still like some of his ideas. And he was always really big about having these weekly meetings. And I'll be honest, I was against it probably for the same reasons you guys are if you don't do it. And so I raised my hand, or someone else raised their hand. Someone else asked, how many people in here do team meetings? And I was literally one of two people that raised their hands. That was it, out of like 40 people in the room. So I was really, really, really surprised. And I decided to make a podcast about why it's so important to do team meetings, weekly meetings as we do, what they should be about, and what the benefits are. So I'm going to guess that your biggest reason you don't want to do them, which was ours, is that it goes into production time. And I get it. We do ours Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. And yeah, it goes into our production time. And but we now account for that. It's that important that it's become, this is part of our overhead expenses. And this is something we need to do to make our business grow and be strong. And would we make, more money right now if we went straight out at 7 that time instead? Of course, instead of 9:30 or 9:15, but there's a reason we do them and it's worth it. The other thing was, I'm not sure how much of you have an office manager or our business partners, it's your spouse or someone, but I didn't want to go to our shop. It's gross. So I hear, I've never been there. But, we work out of kind of a space. I don't know what you call it. We rent space from a landscaper, actually another pond builder, which is kind of weird, but cool. And I wasn't going to go there. There's nowhere to sit. There's no running water. There's no toilets. No. So our compromise was the meetings were here at our house around our dining room table. And that's also nice too, because we really talk a lot at Aquariali about being a family-run business. And this is one thing we do as a family-run business is we treat our employees like family. We literally sit around our dining room table and talk. So I actually printed out a copy of our agenda, and I'm going to go through and tell you guys what we put on our meetings, what we do, and what I recommend you guys do. And the very first thing I recommend is an agenda. Why is an agenda so important? Because you're not going to remember stuff. No matter how much you think you are, you're not. I'm the master of this when it comes to passwords. I'm like, I'm going to remember that one. I literally just did something and 5 minutes later I forgot. And I'm like, oh, no, I'll remember everything I need to say. No, you won't. You're not going to remember most of your passwords either, unless they're all one password, and that's not a good idea either. Separate conversation. So anyway, with our agenda, the very first thing we do every week is we do an icebreaker question. And these are great because these are a good chance for us to get to know each other, talk about each other, laugh. We've had, and I just Googled them online, and they've been everything from what was your favorite Halloween costume to what was the weirdest food you ate. We learned one of our employees has tried dog, which he won. But then we all laughed and talked about it. And this week it was what was normal where you live, but might seem weird to the rest of the world. And we had a lot of fun with that one. And, who grew up where and who said an expression that no one ever heard of and who grew up with certain religions and you thought that was normal. So it's fun. And it's just a way for us to get to know each other and to bond and connect, which is, part of what these meetings are about. They're about work, but they're also about, even more, they're about creating a team atmosphere. And so that we, when you know more about your teammates, it helps in business because you're more comfortable, you're more understanding, just all kinds of things. So I always do it two different ways. The top part is something new and stuff I want to talk about that's different. And then the second part is always the same. So I'd mentioned we went to Pond Camp last week, which was super, super fun. And that's an event that our wonderful distributor, Garden State Koi, puts on. And it was 160 pond builders from around the entire country. And it was 3 builds, but then also all kinds of classes, which I did and taught. I actually did a class on, what did I do my class on? Oh, how we increased our maintenance by 42% in 1 year. And I'm actually thinking of doing a podcast on that. I probably should. So a lot of people came to my class. It was really fun. And so everyone in our meeting today went through, and it was really cool because like one guy, there were no women besides me. One guy learned, and he talks about this technique where he never knew you could make handles out of something. I don't even, pond underlayment, that makes sense to anyone, and how they make handles to move it. And he never knew that was possible. And, a different way to, everything. I can't even think of what they said because it wasn't relevant to me, but it was relevant to each other. So that's what counts. But so we started with takeaways from that. We then, which could almost be a whole separate meeting, but I'll just delve into 1 minute here. We try to do fun events monthly, and we try to include spouses and significant family members as well. And there's a bunch of reasons for this, but one of the best ones is the more your employees' families and spouses and significant others know about you, the more they're going to understand your business and encourage their spouse. They feel like part of the team too. And that's really important to us. Again, as really our whole dynamic is a family-run business, and we want other people's families on board. And that can help even when you are, if someone comes home frustrated after a bad day and their spouse is like, no, they're actually a good company. You're basically getting the spouse on your side and, don't get frustrated. And here's the idea. So that's not why we do it, but it certainly doesn't hurt. But we do it, again, to foster that family feeling, and we want to get to know the people in our employees' lives. So we, let's see, last month we did a swim party at our house with our recreational pond. This month was pond camp. That was without significant, no. This month we actually, we did volunteering at a soup kitchen that our synagogue puts on. So 2 of our employees and their significant others, one spouse, one girlfriend, came, and we all served food, and Aquariali actually sponsored the entire dinner, which was really neat and meaningful. And everyone who went got a lot out of it. We've gone to the Phillies game, we've gone axe throwing, and now in September, we're doing Topgolf. So October, we're going back to a non-family thing, and we're taking a day during the work week, and we are doing a hike in the mountains. I have no idea, in the Poconos. So anyway, but there's also many reasons why these are important too. And again, you're building team spirit, you're building camaraderie. And there was one guy who was shocked that we do a lot of these on the weekend. And we do them that way for 2 reasons. One is, it's more cost effective if we're not, especially if we're paying for a Phillies game, that is over $1,000 we ended up paying. We paid for tickets for everyone. We gave everyone $50 food budget per person for food, and then parking. So doing all this and losing the income you're making during the day, that's a lot of money. So whenever possible, and especially this also helps us bring families in. We try to do our things, our family ones at least, on the evenings and weekends. So we talked about that. Then we go into policies, things that are changing. We have a new vacation policy structure and a new vacation form. We shared that with everyone. We talked about it. We showed everyone where it is. So these are things that, I don't even know. I really, truly don't know when else you would talk about this, if not at a weekly meeting. You would send an email, which nobody would read, or they'd forget instantly. So this is a great way too, that we remind people of things repeatedly. So the vacation thing will probably move down the list, and that'll be something we talk about, if not every week, then close to it. Just a reminder, vacation forms are over there. And that's it. Just a little tidbit of information. We talked about, we had a thing where everybody was eligible for sales training if they completed these steps beforehand, and 2 employees completed them, including our office manager and our maintenance manager. And they're going to a 4-day sales training seminar in October. And again, why it's important to tell everyone is this shows the growth that we're offering, and it shows, hopefully gives incentive to those that did not take advantage to see the other ones who did, and then they'll come back and talk about what they learned and how it benefits them. So, anything we're offering to someone, we want to acknowledge it in a group setting so everyone else can see what we're doing. We then, one guy he couldn't figure out his email password. So I told him that, just things like that. We talked about collecting money while you're on site. And that's something our guys tend to forget to do. We also talked about the holiday party when we're scheduling it for. We took recommendations for where they wanted to go, and they all chose Fogo de Chao, which is a Brazilian steakhouse. We chose a date for December. We also got size confirmations for the jackets we're buying everyone. So it's just a great way to, get information to and from people on a weekly basis. Then we actually did a contest, which I'm going to talk about another time. Then we get to the second part, which is recurring stuff. And every week, Tyler, our maintenance manager, talks about maintenance, what's coming up, what they have to do, what the challenges are. Then my husband, Matt, talks about upcoming work, what's coming up, what the challenges are, what to look out for, blah, blah, blah. And it also helps people because now they understand. We also gave kudos and a round of applause to our amazing customer service manager, Sandy, who we determined is a huge reason why we are not slow on work. So we want to acknowledge that. We want everyone to know what's coming up. We want everyone to feel secure in their position. And one of the most important things in any company is communication. It truly is. People might not know. They might think you're slow. They might think you don't have any money. All kinds of scenarios come up in your head. Like maybe my husband says something stupid once, like, wow, gas is expensive. I don't know. And everyone's like, oh my God, the company's going under. It's not. But, this gives us a chance to talk about, no, we have all this great stuff coming up. We're doing great, blah, blah, blah. So those are two of the things. The maintenance and the upcoming work are always on there. We also always talk about accountability. We name a problem you dealt with, and either you came up with a solution and you tell everyone about the solution you came up with, or you crowdsource and ask everyone else what the solution would be. Well, I had this pump that wouldn't come out and blah, blah, blah. Matt finally told me what to do. Here's what he said to do. Or we had a landscaping issue. All the grass died. What do you guys think would be some reasons why? So again, we're taking hive information. We're getting information from everyone to get the best answers. And then we're sharing what we learned. They might have even called someone else to get an answer, and then we're sharing that answer. We also use it to hold people accountable. We want our guys to make videos every week, especially our maintenance guys when they're on a job, to then send to the client to show what happened, what the problems were, what the solution was, any not upsells, we don't call it that, but any additions we can add to make things even better. So we really try to do that on video. My guys, as I'm sure some other people might do, forget to do this. So now we made it part of our weekly meeting is tell us who you made a video for and what it was about. And sometimes we'll even say, show me the video. So this, again, just reminds people on a regular basis that this is something we're looking for. And this is something we want everyone to focus on. We always talk about videos and social media. We talk about what videos they made. Today, I shared this sheet from Aquascape on best practices for Facebook Lives. So, reminding people, we don't just say one time, we want you to do social media and then wander off and assume they're going to do it. Because if your guys are anything like mine, they're not going to do it. But when they get reminded weekly, when they're asked about this, and I don't want to say we call out people in a negative way, but we do notice and we'll say, hey, we noticed you haven't been putting your before and after pictures in. What's going on? So, we will make it clear to other people and we'll say, this, and then, well, I'll get to that when I talk about, sorry, I know I'm all over the place. I really want to talk about this contest we're doing, and that's going to be another podcast, maybe next week's. And part of that is positive reinforcement, but we're looking at things like who comes in on time every day. We're now tracking that because 5-10 minutes really adds up, and then who comes in and has something else to do and who comes in and goes to the bathroom for 20 minutes. So, how do we start on time? And those are things that we then track and talk about at each weekly meeting. The last thing we do is we share videos. And every once in a while, I'll ask people to watch some social media, some reels, and I'll give them suggestions of people to follow. And I'll say, watch this person, or this person, and then come back and tell us what you got out of 5 things you watched from them. And they'll say, wow, they promoted this, they talked about this. And we'll say, great. So we're just sharing what we learn. And then we also do YouTube videos. And the way it works for our company is you have to watch a YouTube video from either Aquascape or an Aquascape Artist of the Year. And then use those videos to share what you've learned. So I'm trying to think. Today is funny. Today, a bunch of them all watched the same video, but there were 3 parts of it. And 3 of them literally watched 3 different parts. I don't know who would start on part 3, but hey, whatever works. So they talked about what they learned from that and what they learned about taking things from, it was a Tanner Serpa video. He's, I don't know, he's an aquarium guy, I think, in Pittsburgh, and Aquascape did a regional build there recently. So the guys were talking about how they used elements of his property to put into the pond and just putting personality. And these are things that then we take out of it and can use not just for videos, but just, you know, to use during work. So that was our agenda this week. Again, there's so many reasons why you need to be doing this, but if you just want a few, it is to communicate. And nothing, you know, you have to watch tone when you are everything. And I think it said 90% of all communication is visual, which means, you know, and I go through this with my husband, and sometimes he'll text me like, I want to talk to you about something. You're like, oh shit, you know, and it's something good, but you just miss the tone. And so texting all our guys and saying you didn't do your videos is a little different than having them in and saying, here's, you know, it's just a nicer way to remind people, coming across the way we intend for it to come across, not a way that people can misconstrue. It's also a really great way for me and Sandy, our customer service manager, to see everyone. We've had employees at some point that I've literally never met. And that's just crazy because I'm president of the company. But again, I don't go to the shop. My job is here. Theirs is there. Theirs is in the field. I don't go in the field. No one wants me there, me included. And Sandy also, she would never see these guys. So they're getting to know us. They're getting to hear about us. I'm seeing them. I'm seeing their dynamic. I'm seeing who has clean shirts, who's wearing a different hat. And then I learned that the guys were wearing different hats because the Aquareale hats didn't fit them. Boom, easy fix. We got different hats. So it's things like that that might not come up that I'm going to notice or someone else is going to notice. And that's when we give Sandy our receipts, or not we, they give Sandy their receipts. And we just talk through things. And it's a way for the team to connect and the company to become a cohesive team. That's what the icebreaker question is for. This is why we are getting to know each other. And then finally, it's a way for us to learn from each other. So when you look at all that stuff and then you look at the lost revenue time, it doesn't even compare. You need to do these weekly meetings. I can't say that enough. Have I said it enough? So anyway, that's my podcast for the week. I hope it helps some of you, and I hope some of you start team meetings, or if you already have them, text me, let me know, and let me know what your agenda is. And if you want to see mine, I'll show you yours. I'll be happy to share my agenda with, like what I said, some of it changes, but I'll be happy to show you, you know, some examples of our weekly agendas. As always, like, subscribe, and listen to my YouTube channel and my podcast. You can always text me at 215-805-8257. And I will see you all next week when I'm going to talk about this elusive contest I mentioned today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Bye-bye.